listening to The Tom Daniels Show, and I am your host, Tom Daniel. This episode of The Tom Daniels Show is an installment of my family tree series called Tangled Roots, and this one is entitled Love, Murder, and Medicine. Family history is never simple, and my family tree proves that point times 10. Instead of Sir Walter Scott's tangled web, my family tree has tangled roots, full of drama and intrigue. As I am the designated family tree person in my family, I have unearthed some truly wild stories from my family's past, and I want to talk about two of them that take place in early 20th century Texas. Allow me to introduce you to a couple of real pistol balls from my tangled roots. Mr. Benjamin Franklin Wells and Dr. Jackson Gordon Daniel. As they say, you couldn't make this stuff up, especially how their paths intertwine in some of the most unexpected ways through a shared location and an overlapping timeline. Both men are connected to my fourth great-grandfather, Theophilus Daniel, of Honoraville, Alabama. I've always loved that name Theophilus. It was one of Mozart's middle names. Now, one of Theophilus's sons was my third great-grandfather, Abel. Another son of Theophilus was Leonard Daniel, who was the brother-in-law to Benjamin Franklin Wells, whom I just mentioned. Yet another son of Theophilus was John Adams Daniel, who was the father of Dr. Jackson Gordon Daniel, the other name I mentioned. Yeah, I told you it was tangled roots. Anyway, this story will really highlight how connected we all are, even when we're talking about separate lines from generations ago. So, ready to untangle this family saga? I'm all set. Let's dive in. First up, we've got Benjamin Franklin Wells. Quite a name, right? Ben Wells was born in 1851 in Alabama and died tragically, as we will learn, in 1913 in Texas. His older sister, Mary Ellen, was married to Leonard Daniel, who was born in Honoraville, Alabama, and moved the family to Mexia in Limestone County, Texas, after the Civil War. Ben Wells was 15 years old when the family moved to Mexia, and he was a young man in a new land. There, he was married 3 times and had 6 sons and 3 daughters. Now, that's a full house. He married his first wife, Margaret Ellen Van Dyke, in Mexia, and he was 30 years old when they tied the knot. Now, together, they had 3 sons before tragedy struck, and Margaret Ellen passed away unexpectedly at the age of 38. Ben became a widower with 3 little boys. Less than a year later, he married again, this time to 21-year-old Mary Frances Alewine, who was also recently widowed and had a young son of her own from her first husband. It was really more of a marriage of convenience that was intended to provide healing for the children of their respective broken families. In addition to the 4 sons they already had after Brady bunching the family together, Ben and Mary Frances had 2 daughters of their own, Lily Bell and Alice. Unfortunately, the marriage of convenience did not last, and they divorced after 10 years. Ben's 3 sons from his first wife were teenagers by that time, and they remained with him. His 2 daughters with Mary Frances went to live with her. So, more family upheaval. Yeah, you'd think that'd be enough, right? Oh no, this story definitely doesn't end there. The same year he got divorced, Ben married for a 3rd time, this time to a 25-year-old woman named Priscilla Martin. Ben was 51 at this point. Wow. He wasn't afraid of commitment, that's for sure. Not at all. And with Priscilla, he had 3 more sons and another daughter. In 1910, Ben's second wife, Mary Frances, became gravely ill, and their 2 daughters, Lily Bell and Alice, moved in permanently with Ben and Priscilla. Now that's when things really started to get weird. Ben's oldest daughter, 17-year-old Lily Bell, fell head over heels in love with a hot-headed boy from Birmingham named Andy Shamblin, who had just moved to Texas. Yeah, new kid in town. Ben and Andy did not like each other from the beginning. Now, initially, Ben forbade Lily Bell from even seeing Andy. Oh, but you know how it is with young love. Oh yeah, forbidden love just burns brighter. So naturally, Lily Bell and Andy defied Ben, and on her 18th birthday, they eloped. They actually got married right there in Limestone County. Bold move. Now, at first, Lily Bell and Andy were a happy couple. They had a daughter in 1912 named Iris, and Lily Bell got pregnant again soon after. But then here comes the real drama. Andy started having an affair. Oh, and it wasn't just with anyone. It was with Ben's other daughter, 16-year-old Alice, Lily Bell's little sister. That's just a whole other level of messy right there. Man, the betrayal. The tension in that family must have been unbearable. Oh yeah, talk about a family feud. And when Ben found out about the affair, he decided he'd just had enough. He packed up the whole family and grandchild and prepared to leave Mejia and Andy Shamblin far behind. Unfortunately, he never got the chance. On December 28, 1913, the night before they were scheduled to leave Mejia, Ben Wells was sitting in his favorite chair by the window, holding his granddaughter Iris. It was around 7 p.m. And then what happened? Andy Shamblin, that's what. Andy showed up at the house. He was distraught. And in a moment of rage, he fired a shotgun from outside through the window, hitting Ben in the back. Andy shot his father-in-law Ben while Ben was holding his daughter. I can't even. Miraculously, little Iris was unharmed, but the blast severed Ben's spinal cord. The doctor was immediately summoned, and Ben managed to cling to life for a few more hours. Unfortunately, he died that night around 11 p.m. Just awful. A senseless act of violence that shattered a whole family poised to make a fresh start. Benjamin Franklin Wells was buried in Prairie Grove Cemetery in Mejia, and Andy Shamblin was arrested and convicted of murder, sentenced to 10 years in prison. He began serving his sentence in Huntsville State Prison on December 14, 1914. So justice was served, right? Well, to some extent. Although Andy was sentenced to 10 years in prison, he ended up serving only 2. How does that even happen? Because Texas Governor Ferguson pardoned him in 1916. Wow. I guess even back then, politics could be complicated. And here's another little twist. After Andy got out of prison, he reconciled with Lily Bell, and they actually went on to have more children together. I guess love can be a powerful force even in the face of tragedy. Oh, but this story's still not over yet. Oh, no. The cycle of violence swirling around Andy Shamblin just can't help itself. On March 29, 1930, Andy was in the kitchen of his daughter Iris's home in Mejia. An argument broke out. Things escalated. Andy threatened to choke Iris, and Iris's husband, Brad Lee Jackson, stepped in and shot Andy Shamblin 3 times in the chest, killing him. Now, at the trial, Iris testified that her husband had fired his gun to protect her. The jury agreed, and Brad Lee was found not guilty. So let me recap where we are so far. Ben Wells was shot to death by his own son-in-law, who was then shot to death by his own son-in-law. And Iris was in the room both times. Wow, it's almost Shakespearean. I mean, it's truly a tragic and unbelievable chain of events. It really makes you wonder about fate, you know? Or karma. Now, as mentioned earlier, when Andy Shamblin went to Huntsville State Prison, he was admitted on December 14, 1914. 9 days later, another member of my family tree joined him right there at the same prison, an unscrupulous doctor named Jackson Gordon Daniel. You're listening to The Tom Daniel Show. We'll be right back.
¿Qué estás esperando? The Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? The Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? The Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando?
Welcome back to The Tom Daniel Show. And Mary Mac, that was incredible. That's the first time I have ever heard a Tejano version of the show's theme song. Again, Mary Mac is the world's most perfect band. I was talking about some tangled roots in my family tree, and I just introduced a new character. Dr. Jackson Gordon Daniel was my first cousin 4 times removed. He was also born in Honorville back in 1865, and his father, John Adams Daniel, was a singing school instructor. The large family, 11 children, moved around quite a bit after the Civil War, first to Pensacola, then to Louisiana, and then ultimately to Texas. Jackson Gordon Daniel got married in Texas at age 18 and had 2 children with his wife, Rosalie. But then he got another woman pregnant. Yeah, that didn't go over too well with Rosalie, and she left him. 1 year after Rosalie left, he married his second wife, Lucretia, and they ultimately had 3 children. And then things got a little shady. In 1901, when he was 36 years old, Jackson Gordon Daniel suddenly obtained a medical degree from the Central University of Medicine and Science in Jersey City, New Jersey. Oh, but there's no record of him ever setting foot at this university. So how did he get a degree? Well, as it turned out, this university was just a diploma mill, basically a fake school that handed out degrees for money. No real education required, just cash. The whole operation was exposed a few years later by the Journal of the American Medical Association, and they lost their charter. Nonetheless, Dr. Jackson Gordon Daniel was already a practicing physician by this point in Gustine, Texas, in Comanche County. So he was practicing medicine without proper qualifications. Yep. He opened a pharmacy in Gustine, but it went bankrupt in 1912. Creditors were coming after him, trying to get their money back. Not a good look, definitely not. And then on top of the financial troubles, he got hit with another legal bombshell. At the same time as his bankruptcy case, Dr. Jackson Gordon Daniel was brought to trial for performing an illegal abortion on a young girl named Maddie Waldrop at the request of her father. Now, back then, abortion was a very risky procedure, and this guy's not even a real doctor. And the bankruptcy case ended with Dr. Daniel's creditors taking over his pharmacy, and the abortion case ended with Dr. Daniel forfeiting his medical license by judgment of the court. So by 1914, at the age of 49, he was not allowed to practice medicine anymore. But he had already been practicing for years at this point with a fake degree, so he just kept right on practicing without a license. No big deal. Until that same year, 1914, he got arrested again, but for murder. He performed yet another illegal abortion, this time on a married woman named Josie Maddox, and 3 days later, she died. So he got convicted for real and sentenced to 14 years at, you guessed it, Huntsville State Prison. Now, by the way, many witnesses were subpoenaed by the defense to serve as character witnesses for Dr. Daniel, but most of them didn't even show up. They were more willing to pay fines for contempt of court rather than testify on behalf of the good doctor. It makes you wonder what they knew. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Daniel arrived at Huntsville State Prison only 9 days after Andy Shamblin. And I've always wondered if they ever met each other. So there he was serving his sentence. Then in 1917, he escaped. He was a trustee at the Shaw Farm facility, which was kind of a work camp outside the main prison. He was granted a little freedom by being assigned to the work camp, but he decided to take a lot more for himself. Yeah, but this extra freedom was short-lived. He was caught only 2 days later, and back to prison he went. But then another twist. In January 1918, he got a full pardon from Governor William Hobby. Hold on, another pardon? What is it with these Texas governors and their pardons? Pretty remarkable, isn't it? I could never find any document to say why he was pardoned. So that's another mystery to ponder. Just add it to the list. Now here's the kicker. Despite everything, after he got out of prison, Jackson Gordon Daniel went right back to practicing medicine. He set up in Glen Rose, Texas this time, and practiced medicine there for 25 years. He died in 1943 at the age of 77, with the primary cause of death listed as a partial obstruction of the coronary artery. He was buried at Squaw Creek Cemetery in Glen Rose. His obituary proclaimed that there are probably few homes in all this vicinity that have not at one time or another been very grateful to him for his faithful services. So I guess he kind of redeemed himself at the end, maybe found a way to make amends. But even his will was a little odd. Upon his death, he left his house and furniture to his third wife, Eddie. He left a total of $10 each to one son and one daughter. He left nothing to another son, and left the bulk of his estate to his remaining daughter and son. Sounds like some very complicated family dynamics right there, definitely. So these two men, whose lives were so full of drama and even overlapped in prison, were both part of my family tree. Distant, but still connected. It's amazing, isn't it? Just shows how much history is hidden within our family trees. And these stories, they're not just names and dates, they're real people. I promise there will be more to come from my Tangled roots. Thank you, everybody. This has been the Tom Daniels Show. Keep listening, keep learning.
Sigue escuchando, sigue aprendiendo de Tom Daniel Show. Sigue escuchando, sigue aprendiendo de Tom Daniel Show. Tómate un descanso de tu rutina habitual y sintoniza de Tom Daniel Show. Descubrirás el mundo de las melodías e historias que quizás no conozcas. Sigue escuchando, sigue aprendiendo de Tom Daniel Show. Sigue escuchando, sigue aprendiendo de Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? De Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? De Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? De Tom Daniel Show. Escuchando, sigue aprendiendo de Tom Daniel Show. Sigue escuchando, sigue aprendiendo de Tom Daniel Show. Tómate un descanso de tu rutina habitual y sintoniza de Tom Daniel Show. Descubrirás el mundo de las melodías e historias que quizás Sigue escuchando, sigue aprendiendo. The Tom Daniel Show. Sigue escuchando, sigue aprendiendo. The Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? 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 The Tom Daniel Show. The Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? The Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? The Tom Daniel Show. ¿Qué estás esperando? The Tom Daniel Show.